Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Sam and today we're going to be talking about speed ramping and how you can perfect those speed ramping skills in Final Cut Pro. So first off, what is speed ramping? Basically, speed ramping is the art of speeding up and slowing down your footage to produce a creative and dynamic effect. This allows the videographer to accentuate certain elements of the video that they want the viewers to pay attention to. There are a few ways you can use speed ramping: ramping, transitions, and skipping. So let's start with ramping. So ramping is a way to speed up and slow down the same clip at certain points that you want the viewer to pay attention to. So here we have a clip of my friend snowboarding, and as you can see, he's just about to hit this ramp. When he takes off in the air and lands, that's where I want the speed ramp to happen. So what you first need to do is distinguish where you want your entry point to be. So I want my entry point to be just as he hits the nose of the jump there. Make sure that your playhead is hovered over the top of the clip is selected, just about there. Then you need to hit Shift and B. So this has created a split in the retime mapping. So what we need to do now is choose our exit point. So just as he lands, about there is where I want to make my second retime mapping. So again, Shift and B. So now you'll see that we've created 3 sections in the same clip. Now because I shot this clip in 60 frames per second, that's going to allow me to slow it down by 50%. So what we're going to do now is click on this little arrow here, change this middle section to 50%. And then for the sections either side, we're going to make those faster. So again, the little arrow, change this to 2 times, and again for the exit, 2 times. So Final Cut does all of the work. So basically now you have a perfectly speed ramped clip, which is dictated by these grey bars here. So these grey bars basically tell you how long it's going to take for the clip to get from 200% down to 50%. The longer the grey bars, the smoother the transition basically. Now you can maneuver these and change these to how you wish by just clicking there and dragging it closer to the split point that you created before. This means that you can make the transition quick or slow, it depends on what you're after. So if we play that back, you can see that while he's in the air, it goes in slow motion, which means that the audience is going to be paying more attention to that particular point in the clip. Now an important thing to note here is that you need to make sure that your clip was shot in a high frame rate, something like 50, 60 frames per second, or if you've got the camera 100 or 120 frames per second. This will then allow you to slow it down by either 50% or even a quarter, down to 25%, which is going to give you that really nice buttery smooth slow motion footage. So another way to use speed ramping is to create a transition between 2 clips. This is to create the illusion of motion blur between those 2 clips to generally hide the cut. For best results here, you want to make sure that you've used the 180-degree shutter rule, which is where your shutter speed is double your frame rate. So if you shot this at 50 frames per second, you will have used a shutter speed of 1/100. This just means that the motion blur, when you speed up and slow down your footage, is going to be a lot smoother. You're not going to see the jolts as much. So we're going to have a look at another clip now. It's a snowboarding trip that we took earlier last year, and what I'm going to want to do is transition between these 2 clips. For better results with this one, you want to make sure that the 2 clips that you're transitioning between complement each other on their exit and entry points. So basically what that means is you either use the same motion to leave the clip as when you start the next clip. So as you can see here, this clip isn't quite perfect, but it's the only example I can think of at the moment. So in this example, what we're going to do is, just as the chairlift is about to leave frame and the camera is panning to the right, we're going to make our first retime mapping cut here. So again, Shift and B. And then in the second clip, just as the sun peeks through there, select the clip, again Shift and B, and we're going to speed these 2 up by 4 times. Now you can choose whichever speed you want, whichever you prefer, but in this example I'm going to choose 4. Just bring those in a little bit. And now we can slow these down again by 50% because I shot this at 60 frames per second. Again with the exit, 50%. And if we play that back, you can see that we've created a nice seamless transition between the two clips. Now the other technique that you can use is something called skipping, which is where you would speed up and slow down in multiple parts of the same clip. So if we look at this example again, as you can see the chairlift goes past and then the camera pans down slowly towards the ground. As you can see, it doesn't look that great, but we can use this skipping technique to speed up the boring bits and emphasize on the bits that we want to show the viewer. So we can select a point in our clip, I'd say about there, Shift and B, and then select the second point, Shift and B. Now what we need to do is speed up the middle section and then slow down the two outer sections. So for the middle I want this to happen quite quickly, so I'm going to choose something like 20 times for this section, and 50% for the bits on the outside. If we play that back. And as you can see, that looks so much better than it did before. So now if we play back that clip, you can see the difference between the transition and the skipping technique. And there we have it, 3 techniques. We've got the ramping, skipping and transition. So now I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks within Final Cut Pro, which is going to allow you to fine tune those speed ramps so that it fits with the music perfectly. If we hover over here, we can see a little arrow pop up. If we move this to the left or to the right, as you can see, it changes the value of this section here. So we can use this technique to finely tune the speed ramps that we've created. But what happens if you don't want to change the value of the speed ramp? You don't want to speed it up anymore, or you don't want to slow it down anymore. How can we maintain that 50% and that 200% on either side? So another technique is the same point there. If we double click and then hit edit, it brings up this little film strip. The brilliant thing about this is any split that we've created so far can be finely tuned, and we can actually move the point of where that split takes place within that clip. So if we just move that to the left or the right, we can see that the further we bring it this way, the closer we get to this spike in the music here. So if we look there, we can see that the music is about to hit a crescendo. So a great tip to speed up your workflow, and what I like to do is I like to listen to the music from beginning to the end and then put markers where the crescendos happen, where the beats change, and where I think a transition will work best, or where I think a speed ramp will work best. So then I can do a rough cut so that each clip matches up with these markers that I've created, and then I can go back and fine tune, put the speed ramps in using the techniques we've just learnt here, and finely tune those in so it doesn't ruin the rest of my project. And the way to do that is make sure that the music is selected, press play, and then as we hear the beats change, we hit M. So there's one. There's another one. And another one. Now putting those markers in gives me a clear visual representation of somewhere within the music that will create a great transition or a great speed ramp. I can go in, do a rough cut, and then go back and finely tune them using some of the techniques that we've learned today. So that's it. Hopefully you learned something and it helps with your next project. I'd love to see what you come up with. If you do come up with something, hit me below. I'd love to see it. Other than that, thanks for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, bell, all those things, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. What do we think? I got these blue light glasses, which is meant to get rid of the blue light from all these LED screens that we're looking at. What do we think? I don't think they look that bad. Look alright. Anyway, sip of water.